Hello, everyone. Welcome to TIFF Stay-at-Home Cinema, brought to you by TIFF and Crave. My name is Cameron Bailey. I'm the co-head and artistic director here at TIFF. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're watching Sense and Sensibility, starting at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 4:45 p.m. on the West Coast. And our special guest is none other than Academy Award-winning actor Kate Winslet. And your host is the CBC's Eleanor Wachtel. Tonight's conversation was pre-recorded, with Kate joining us all the way from England, where it's late. Her Wi-Fi connection was a bit spotty, but it's a great conversation. You'll want to see her insights into the film. Before I hand it over to Eleanor, just a few shout-outs. We're on Indigenous land, and I'd like to acknowledge Indigenous storytellers from coast to coast to coast. And if you missed last night's conversation with award-winning actor Tantu Cardinal about falls around her, you can watch the talk on TIFF's YouTube channel. We want to thank our government partners, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, and the City of Toronto, who have been our long-time supporters. We'd also like to thank our frontline workers who are working to keep us safe and healthy and fed. Huge thanks to our corporate partners, our lead sponsor Bell, our major sponsors RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa, and thanks also to the donors and members, the individuals, maybe people like you, who have been supporting us for years, and it's especially important right now. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you our host for tonight. Eleanor Wachtel is the host and co-founder of CBC Radio's Writers and Company. She also co-founded Wachtel on the Arts on CBC Radio's Ideas. Eleanor's been widely recognized for her contributions to Canadian cultural life. She's received 9 honorary degrees and has been named an Officer of the Order of Canada. I was lucky enough to work with her years ago at CBC Radio, and at TIFF, she's been our host for Books on Film since the start of the series back in 2011. You're in great hands for tonight. Enjoy.
Welcome to TIFF Stay-at-Home Cinema with this special edition of Books on Film. Tonight with a movie that is pure pleasure. From 1995, Ang Lee's adaptation of Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. There are a number of firsts. It was Taiwanese director Ang Lee's first film in English. He was already known for his art house hits, The Wedding Banquet, and Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. But his Oscar-winning Brokeback Mountain and other literary adaptations were more than a decade away in the future. It was Jane Austen's first major novel. She started it when she was scarcely 20 years old in 1795. Called Elinor and Marianne, initially it was a sequence of letters between the two sisters, which meant they had to be apart in order to correspond. When Austen revised and retitled it in 1811 as Sense and Sensibility, changing the point of view, the sisters are almost always together. As screenwriter and actress Emma Thompson affirms, it's really about their relationship, a love story between the two sisters, Janice-like at the turn of the century, with Eleanor, who belongs to the 18th century age of reason, while impetuous Marianne shoots toward the 19th century romantic age. Emma Thompson worked on the screenplay for many years, capturing the spirit of the book, but making it wittier, accentuating the humor. Then she herself was cast as Eleanor, and a very young Kate Winslet, at 19, got the part of Marianne. It was only her second big film role. At 17, she'd co-starred in Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures, based on a sensational New Zealand murder trial. Now, as Marianne, Kate went on to win Screen Actors Guild Award, a BAFTA or British Film Award, and she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. In fact, during her extraordinary career, she became the youngest ever actress to be nominated for 6 Academy Awards, many of them literary adaptations, including Tom Perrotta's Little Children, Richard Yates's Revolutionary Road, and Bernhard Schlink's The Reader. Of course, she also starred in the phenomenal hit Titanic, and more recently, the HBO miniseries Mildred Pierce, and the biopic Steve Jobs, for which she got her 7th Oscar nomination. Before I welcome her to join us tonight, a couple of amusing anecdotes about Sense and Sensibility. The sensible Eleanor's love interest, Edward Ferrars, was meant to be so dull in the novel that during filming, the Jane Austen Society complained about the casting of Hugh Grant, because he was too good-looking, and of course, too charming. More gossip? Greg Wise stars as the dashing cad Willoughby, who seduces and betrays Marianne. In real life, Emma Thompson, who was in the midst of getting a divorce from Kenneth Branagh, got involved with Greg, 7 years her junior, and they subsequently married, had children, and are together now in lockdown in Scotland. Joining me now from England, it's a thrill to welcome Kate Winslet. I'm thrilled that you're doing this, really. It's just terrific. And I'm a huge fan.
It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. It's been a long time since I've really talked about Sense and Sensibility, actually. So, no, it's fun for me to do.
Great. You grew up in a family of theater actors. You're third generation, going back to your grandparents who ran a small rep theater in Reading. When did you realize you wanted to act, to join the family business?
So quite honestly, I was about 5 years old. And, you know, the thing about my family, because my father was an actor, and my older sister, Anna, was already sort of wanting to do a bit of drama when she was 8. So I would have been 5 at that time. And my mother was one of 6 siblings, and it was actually her parents who had ran this theatre, even though my mother herself was never an actress. The idea of it just sort of horrified her. She was quite shy. But her oldest brother was an actor who did a lot of theatre in the West End. So I grew up in this environment of play. You know, it was play and sort of mucking in and making up stories and, you know, being loud and silly outfits. And so to me, my connection with it was always creating characters, having fun, and being ready to just jump into a character or make the best of any situation or invent a play or come up with a puppet show or do silly voices or silly walks. Wherever we were, we could be, you know, we could be on a beach, we could be on a hike, we could be on a rainy camping vacation. And it was this thing that we just sort of always did. But also no one made any money from it. No one. I mean, the word impoverished, you know, I feel I use the word impoverished as much as I feel I use the word strong women, you know. They were, you know, I come from a sort of a pack of, you know, wandering players, really. You know, my sister Anna and her husband Ed, they're both actors, and they almost live out of a huge van that is largely filled with costumes and pieces of set, you know. So and it still feels like that now, even though I'm a film actor and have achieved, you know, sort of lovely success and things like that. It still feels the same. So what I was aspiring to be when I was 5 years old was, quite honestly, more of that, but to do it as a job. So I just thought, well, if I could always do that in some way and get paid for doing it, then I would be able to make a living from doing this thing that I really love the most of all, out of everything. So it felt like a bit of a game in so many ways. But I was that young. I was about 5 or 6. I do remember. And you weren't concerned that turning play into work could be a problem or could dampen. Well, I sort of never, it's really funny because my dad, you know, my dad was an actor, and he's a singer now more, but he would always say, well, you know, he would always talk about it's tough. You know, there's a lot of actors out there, you know, there's only so many jobs to go round. He'd say things like that. And my mum would say this thing that I have sworn never to say to my children. And I think I haven't said it to them yet. She'd say, well, darling, you know, it's very important to have another string to your bow. And I would just go, oh, God, that's so annoying. I would just think that was the most annoying thing I'd ever heard. Because also, what else was I going to do? I wasn't going to do typing. And I also remember thinking, I don't want to be like everyone else. I don't want to play safe. I don't want to have a backup plan. I want to fling myself at something, take a risk. And if it doesn't work out, well, I'll just do something different. But that was my attitude. And that continued to be my attitude, even after Heavenly Creatures, even after Sense and Sensibility. Well, if it doesn't work out, you know, lucky to get the gig, and you never know, might not ever be invited back again. And I still slightly have a little bit of that, like, you know, well, you're only as good as your last gig, you know, you never know. You know, but it's just because it was it. I grew up. That's how I grew up. Don't count your chickens before they've hatched. It just might all go to shit. You know, that was my education, really. That the family members inspired me to think like that. Throw yourself at it, and if it doesn't all work out, just do something different. So I sort of lived by that.
So far, you haven't had to do.
No, thank God. I mean, no, thank God. Thank God.
How did you land the role of Marianne in Sense and Sensibility?
Well, see, so there is a story behind this that I think I have told a couple of times, but maybe never like this in an interview that was actually going to be played for people to see. So it was a little bit of a trick. It was one of my first greatest tricks. And so I have two lovely agents. I have my English agent, who I've been with since I was 16, and my American agent, who I've been with since I was 18. And considering that I'll be turning 45 this year, and I'm still doing this job, and they're both still doing the job they do, and we all still get along in the way that we do, it's extraordinary, you know, and it's just us, and we just keep it small, and it's always been like that. I'm very loyal. I don't like, you know, I like to keep the same people close. So I'm very, very lucky to have had these great people in my life. Anyway, my American agent, Hilda, who I should just add is actually Irish. She's from County Clare and lives in Los Angeles, has done for a long time now, but she still sounds very Irish, which is hilarious and kind of feisty and great. Anyway, it was soon after Heavenly Creatures, and you know, this thing had happened of, you know, I had this American agent now, and I'd had to meet a few agents, and it was all a bit scary to me. And I just remember thinking, well, what are you supposed to do when an American agent says, oh, I'd like you to be a client of mine? You know, how do you decide? And I remember thinking, well, I like her because she had a cool backpack and she seemed normal and she wasn't wearing any makeup. And honestly, that's the reason I ended up going with her as my agent, was because she had a cool backpack. And we do still laugh about that now. That is the only reason, because I had no clue about all this American agent thing. Anyway, it turned out to have been one of the best things ever. So I went to LA, and I had about 4 or 5 days there. I had some interviews and things I needed to do for Heavenly Creatures, which was the first time I'd ever done any publicity. So this was all a big new world for me. And she said, listen, there's a few scripts I need you to read and a couple of meetings I've set up for you. One of them in particular, I'd really like you to, you know, to go for. But I need you to know that the character they think that you're right for, it's not really a very big part. So it's the character of Lucy Steele, who was played in the film by Imogen Stubbs in the end. It's the character of Miss Lucy Steele, and they'd like you to go on tape for that. She said, but we're not going to do that. You're going to pretend that you were sent the wrong information, and you are right for the role of Marianne Dashwood. You're a little young because Emma Thompson is going to be playing the older sister, but she's like, just ignore all that. Just pretend that you've prepared for the role of Marianne, and it's been a terrible mistake. And she said, and I promise you, they'll be so embarrassed that you'll read for the Marianne role. Just trust me. So I was like, this is brilliant. I'm well up for this. So I prepare for the Marianne part, and I go in and I meet with Lindsay Duran, who was the producer. And I said, oh, it's just, God, I'm 19 and I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about. I just know that it's a brilliant part. It's an incredible opportunity. It's a wonderful script. And I just wanted to go for it, you know? And so I went into the room and I said, oh my gosh, that relationship between the two sisters, it's so inspiring. Reminds me a lot of my relationship with my sisters in a way. And the role of Marianne Dashwood, I'm so similar to her. I mean, I came up with all this crap. And Lindsay Duran was like, I thought we sent you the pages for the Lucy Steele role. Oh no, I didn't get sent those. No, I didn't get. No, I don't. No. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I think I might have prepared the wrong lines, but I can do them for you anyway. And that was what I did. So I just like fully just lied, made it up, and went for it. And then I was back in London. It must have been a month or two later, and Ang Lee had wanted to meet me. Okay, now this is when I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Now I'm terrified. So I go to London. I didn't live in London at the time, and I go to London on the train, very nervous, and I had been told that I would be meeting with Emma Thompson because they wanted to see how we looked together, which it turns out was actually, they were worried about this age gap because Emma she's about 16 years older than me. And so I walk into the room, and I remember I was wearing a blue top, like just a very simple round neck, long sleeved, like t-shirt, but with long sleeves. And it was my go-to audition t-shirt. I remember thinking it made my boobs look good. So I used to wear this top for auditions and a pair of black jeans. So I was wearing my audition outfit, and in I went, and Emma was there, and she was lovely. And she said, oh God, we're all so thrilled to meet you. And we've seen the film you were in, Heavenly Creature. I think they want to put us both on camera. She said, I've got a blue top on actually underneath my jumper. So she took off her jumper, and she had this kind of darker blue t-shirt. And she said, it just helps with the skin tone, makes it look a little bit more similar. And I remember, even as I'm telling the story now, I do remember thinking, God, she's really kind of rooting for me. And it really made me feel calm and not confident, because it takes a lot as an actor to feel confident. And that comes over a number of years, actually, I think. But it made me feel supported, and that is something I've never ever forgotten, the importance of supporting younger actors, and very much focus on that now in my own life. So that was how that all came to be, and meeting Ang. And he was a man of very few words, and I did just think, oh well, it's probably not going to work out, because he didn't really talk to me very much. He obviously just thought I was wrong, and that if I'd only worn a different top. And then when I received the phone call to say that I had gotten the role, I mean, I did keep thinking, I'm sure they've made a mistake and they just haven't got the heart to tell me. And on day one of shooting, I still remember thinking, they have made a mistake, but they just can't pluck up the courage to say, oh look, Kate, we're so sorry. We just read the wrong name off the list, and we didn't really mean to cast you. I really felt that, there's because it wasn't just Emma. It's Gemma Jones, who played our mother, who I recently worked with again, actually last year. Alan Rickman. I almost couldn't speak when I met Alan. I was so overwhelmed and awestruck. And Imelda Staunton and Hugh Laurie, and just these Harriet Walter, these wonderful, to me, distinguished, established English actors. I was scrappy little Kate from Reading, who had done a film about two girls who killed someone in Christchurch, New Zealand. That was it. That was all I'd done, and a couple of commercials, So it was bizarre to me to even find myself there. And at the end of my first day, and this is a story that I tell younger actors now when they're terrified. I say, listen, at the end of my first day of shooting, I did a scene with Gemma Jones, and Ang Lee had hardly spoken to me. He'd barely said two words. And I went to him at the end of the day and I said, so, how did I do? Like, literally, how was it? And he went, literally, I promise you, this is what he did. He put his hand on my shoulder and he went, oh, you'll get better. I promise. And I went back to, I went back to the hotel where I was staying, and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I thought, you know what? This is it. This is this tough at the top thing. This is acting now. And people might say horrible things, and you've just got to be tough, and you just got to deal with it and just get through it. Okay, right. So yeah, I will get better. I'll get better. And I didn't say anything. And then about a month later, I told Emma Thompson, I said, oh, I just have to tell you this thing that Ang said on the first day of shooting. And I told her, and she just went, oh. She said, I can't. She said, my insides, I feel like my insides are going to drop out. Why didn't you tell me? I said I couldn't. I just thought I was being brave, and I just wanted to try my best. And anyway, and then she kept some diaries that were subsequently published of the experience of making the film, and she did actually put that story in the diaries, I think. But yeah, so quite extraordinary
as in devastating, I'd say.
Yeah, devastating, but also what a way to learn in many ways. I mean, I have to say, you know, that it's very rare that a director will come out with kind of, you know, harsh words or tactless things like that. I think when you're younger, when I was younger, I felt everything so keenly, you know, horrendously sensitive, you know, like a lot of actors really are. But like, for example, now, you know, I worked with Francis Lee last year, who directed me in a film called Ammonite with Saoirse Ronan. He's a director. He did God's Own Country. So I did his second feature. And there were days when he'd come up to me and he'd go, that was crap. Just that was, and I, no, and I'm laughing. And I'm like, Francis, there's got to be another way of saying it. He's like, no, it was rubbish. Just go back over there, do it again. Oh. So, but you know, but in a way, I almost take that type of sort of tactless commentary. I almost take it as a compliment, because I feel like, well, they know I can take it now, you know, which is true. I can, you know, Woody Allen would say to me, oh, stop, that's too actressy, you know, and again, it would make me laugh hysterically, but it's because I'm in my 40s now. So I have been doing it such a long time. So those things are really just funny. And I can give as good as I get. Now I'll say, actually, that's not helpful. Go over there and leave me alone. So, but it's about having that rapport with a director where you can have that back and forth. And sometimes it can actually be quite fun and quite useful.
Sense and Sensibility was early in your career, but you have something of a reputation for taking on feisty roles like Marianne. Is that something you especially enjoy? I mean, you said Marianne is you, but that was part of the persuasion to.
Well, Marianne was definitely, you know, Marianne Dashwood was definitely me at that time that we made the film in my life, you know, flinging myself, wailing into the wind on the Cornish cliffs, you know, over some lost love and some terrible crisis, most of which was probably invented. You know, that was 100% who I was at that time. And it is really interesting, actually, when I hear you ask me that question of, you know, being drawn to feisty roles. It's really funny. I think that sort of, that urge, that sort of compulsion in me to follow characters like that, that's gone a little bit, funnily enough, I think in the last decade, maybe, because I'm a bit older now. I find myself drawn to characters who maybe are, you know, I don't know, mourning the loss of a path in their life that they didn't take, something like that, or characters that do have a lot more stillness and vulnerability. And more than anything, I just said this to my friend James McArdle, who's a Scottish actor who was in Ammonite with us last year. We were just chatting on the phone. I said, it's so funny because the dream for me now really is just to play loads of different parts. There doesn't have to be a theme or an impulse or a sort of a resounding characteristic, but just the dream truly for any actor is just to play lots of different characters, you know, and I'm very much enjoying getting older, visibly also getting, you know, like Kate Winslet's getting older, you know, there are things that move differently, and, you know, I'm noticing those things now, and actually to see that on screen and to be able to embrace those changes is one of the most liberating things I've experienced so far. Even things like the backs of my hands. You know, I've always admired the backs of hands of older members of my family, and I look at my own hands now, and I can. It's like, oh yes, I'm getting it too. You know, the veins are a little bit more visible, and the things that you've loved and lost and held and cherished, they're all written in the backs of the hands, I think. And so whenever I notice that on screen, I feel proud of, I think, my own life experiences, and knowing how much of my own life experiences I definitely do bring to each role and am able to access as well. So it's funny how I think as I'm getting older, it's just changed quite a lot, that feisty thing, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're nothing if not versatile. But I wondered, I mean, to what degree you like to identify with a character? Because I was thinking it must have been tough to take on a role like the one in Bernhard Schlink's The Reader, where you portray a range of ages and also a woman who worked in a Nazi concentration camp.
Well, there are a handful of roles I've played. I mean, maybe even not a handful, perhaps 2 or 3 roles that I've played where I just had no connection with the character at all. And so for me, I think in a situation like that one, I always find it important to empathize with the character in some way, even if it's in a tiny way, not to have to justify their actions or explain them, but to empathize with them, or at least understand to some degree what they were experiencing. Because if the understanding isn't there, then you can't create the honesty. And if you can't create the honesty, then you can't create a full character for an audience to decide for themselves about. So playing Hannah, it's so funny. I get a slight sick feeling even when I talk about it. I know. Oh God,
and that's the one that won you the Oscar. You know,
I know, and I honestly, and also when I'm no judge either of, you know, when I see a film and it's finished, and they say, "Oh, The Reader, you know, Stephen's finished cutting it, and he'd love you to see it," I will put that moment off for as long as I can. It just happened, actually. Ammonite, this film I mentioned before, it was again a similarly kind of intense experience like The Reader, and I had to find not a common ground with the character, but something about her that I understood. You know, mapping out her life before getting the character to a place where I could make her my own. And I was sent a link to watch the film because, of course, we can't go into a screening room and I can't sit next to the director and have him hold my hand through it. So I was sent a link, and I had that link for 9 weeks, and it had to be renewed 5 times because I would not watch it. I was so scared to watch it, because when you put so much of yourself into something and it costs you a piece of yourself, you know, the fear is, oh my God, what if it's just shit? what if I hate it? What if my voice is irritating? What if it isn't anything like I had imagined? You know, what if I just got it all wrong? I mean, these are very real feelings that come up. And still, after, you know, a long time that I have been doing this, almost 30 years, I'd say I probably feel like that more now. I think ignorance is bliss. When you're younger, you just actually would just fling myself at these things. And, you know, perhaps before I had a family, you know, we're choosing to go to work now. Choosing to go to work at all is very much a family decision, and a decision that, you know, we come to over a period of time, and weighing up the pros and the cons, and where does it film, and can we all go? And, you know, so there's a lot of stuff around that decision, and also how much will it take of me that I need to still be able to give to my young family. Because it does take quite a lot. So it's just, the stakes almost now are higher in a funny kind of a way. It's hard to explain.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, yeah. We have a few questions from Books on Film subscribers and other members of the TIFF community. From Susan Muir, who's a TIFF Patrons Circle member. Do you have a favorite genre of film that you enjoy making more than others? I mean, what do period films like Sense and Sensibility rank in your list?
Period films, I think I went through a phase in my probably late 20s and early 30s of actively trying to sort of stay away from period films a little bit because I was very fortunate quite young with The Heavenly Creatures, Sense and Sensibility, Titanic, my goodness. But these are all, I mean, even The Heavenly Creatures set in the 50s, they're all still essentially period films. And I think I probably was aware that I could be in a position where I might be defined as a sort of, period film, English Rosie type of, type of a type of an actress. And I was very fortunate when Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind came along, because it was the opposite of all of that. And I thought, okay, amazing. I can experiment. I can push myself. I can improvise. I can work more with my American accent, which I'd only done a few times at that point. And that changed things for me enough that I think I felt, okay, well, if the opportunity to do a period film comes around again, I feel excited about it because I've done this other thing that shows to people that I can do something different. But I do love period films because there's a different rhythm to period films, and I often think that's why people enjoy watching period films, because typically they're English, the beautiful English countryside, the wonderful costumes, often the hair and the makeup just looks very sort of dreamy and clean and happy and healthy so often. And I think we sometimes go to the movies because we just want to be entertained and watch something that is wonderful to see. I mean, even television, like something like Downton Abbey. We through COVID, we've actually been binge watching Downton, which we'd never seen as a family, and I was like, my feeling after watching season 1 was, I understand absolutely why people became so addicted and taken by this, because it looks so comfortable and decadent, and just imagine what it's like to wander around the halls of those incredible stately homes, which do exist in this country. Yes, they do, so it's wonderful to see something that seems so impossible, impossibly big, impossibly romantic, impossibly beautiful. It's lovely to see those things sometimes. And also the purity of the romance in period films, and very, very, very often in Jane Austen, that sort of woman sees man, woman falls in love with man, hopes that he might ask her, heart racing moment, he asked her. These are wonderful, wonderful romantic notions for anyone to feel. And they're quite simple themes, they're quite simple, easy, pure, honest ways to fall in love. And I think that's why people are so taken by that genre. So I always find it lovely, very, very lovely. I like doing things that are adaptations of novels as well. It's lovely to have that material, that source material, to sort of pull apart and sometimes interpret for yourself. I particularly loved Mildred Pierce that I did for HBO for that very reason, because it was 5 huge episodes, and we did get to shoot the entire novel, the beginning, the middle, and the ending, as it happens in the book. It is an extraordinary novel. And so it was wonderful for that reason. A little bit the same with Revolutionary Road, actually. We had that was a brilliantly done adaptation by Justin Hayes, and again we were able to keep pretty much everything of the original text.
Right. So James,
it's nice to honor, James M. Cain
and Richard Yates for the Revolutionary Road. Yeah.
For Revolutionary Road, exactly. It's always really nice to be able to honor the source material, because goodness knows, years ago those words were pored over, so yeah, I'm incredibly lucky to do these wonderful, wonderful projects.
This is from Linda Kahn, a TIFF member. What are you looking for in your career right now? Would you ever do a series for a streaming service?
Yes. I mean, listen, I think television is at its most exciting right now, I have to say. I'm just halfway through a very, very interesting 10-part script that I'm reading that is an adaptation from an Israeli TV show. It's fantastic. I also am coming to the end of shooting something called Mayor of Easttown for HBO. We were shut down 8 weeks before we wrapped our 116-day shoot because of COVID. So I'm yet to finish that, and that's quite a big. It's a big show, 7 episodes, and it's a big old show with lots of people in it. And I play Mayor. I play the lead. So television, yeah, I think it's, in a way, especially now with our new normal, when people aren't going to be going to the movies in the way that they used to, not for a long time yet, and being able to enjoy something in the comfort of your own home, often it's so much more affordable for people. 9 times out of 10, it's more affordable for people to watch something from home, and to just have a subscription to a streaming service. So I think there's something fantastic about that, really fantastic. And I don't know, kind of uniting about that. So yes is the answer. I would do. And what am I looking for next in my career? I think to just keep mixing it up, to keep mixing it up, to hopefully keep surprising people, taking risks, doing something new, playing different characters, I never want to do the same thing twice. Never. I think if that's a goal for me, it's just never to do the same thing twice.
We're about to start Sense and Sensibility. In Canada, we're watching on Crave, so we're going to press play at 7:45 Eastern, 4:45 p.m. on the West Coast. Outside Canada, you can find the film on your local service. Watch along with us. We'll be tweeting using the hashtag TIFF at home. Have fun. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. And I love TIFF. We love Canada in our family very much. So thanks for having me. Enjoy the movie.
Yeah, what a pleasure. Thank you. Take care.